Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakak. And I want to say Shalom to Akim Akwat out there, pursuing this truth diligently. Coming at you once again with another lesson. And once again, with another edition of Esau's vile and cannibalistic tendencies. Now, yesterday we got quite a bit through it, but the article that we got that we're touching on here is very, 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 very long. I don't even believe we're not even halfway through it. There's a lot to it, right? So again, I'm not sure how long it's going to go, but I really want to get through this whole list because again, Esau is going to constantly deny it. And, we're just going to lay it all out. We're going to read it. And, Jake has an attention deficit. They have an attention deficit. So they're not going to go and actually read this. So I figured might as well just go and read it all, right? If you're not going to read it, you'll at least listen to it. So we're starting up. I believe we read already a little bit of this part where we're going to, just read it again to keep the flow. And again, this is really a response to this guy, Bubonic Bubbles, that, again, if I go back, it was really this guy, Saucy Dog 002, and he made this instance, this post about how it wasn't the food that popped like a chew, but the racist caricatures that were being depicted there of, our people, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, in this instance, so-called, Negroes. And our people were depicted as savages, despite the fact that Esau, the so-called white man, was eating people, right? And of course, this guy Bubonic Bubbles said, no, white people. Well, I'll read it. It says white people were eating black people. That's the dumbest shit I've read today. And of course, everybody, really got back on him. And this person, Lift Plant Nerd, was the one that originally posted this Science Direct article that we're currently reading off, right? And then, of course, you got this guy's Sniper Scope 11 that says, let's be real, that was your family, not mine. You need to claim them. Again, plausible deniability with Esau. That's what they always do. So we're going to start this back up again, all right, and just go through it. Probably be in about an hour or so, maybe shorter. We'll just see how it goes, just through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. But we're going to start it up, read it up, Lord willing. There's some edification to be had from it. So starting and resuming it. So it says, among those horrors, and of course, this is talking about this boat, all right, that these Israelites were on, all right. Now, there was Portuguese individuals that I guess were running these boats. There were some other people that were going on, some Europeans. It was getting checked over by some European individuals. There's a lot of stuff going on, right? If you haven't watched the first part of the lesson, it's really going to be recommended because you're not going to understand what the hell's going on without that first part. So anyway, it says, among those horrors, cannibalism was just one. Rape, torture, and beatings, sadistic murders, and other accusations of a cannibalism, this one directed towards the ship's sailors, filled page after page of depositions. So here's the thing. This wasn't just, it wasn't just there was one instance of someone being ate. There was pages of pages, rape, torture, beatings, sadistic murders. You know what sadistic murder is? That's not like, you just shot or you were just stabbed. A sadistic murder is like torture, all right? That would be a sadistic murder, all right? Or forcing, a child to murder their mother, all right, with, a hammer, that would be a sadistic murder, all right? And then murdering that kid with the same hammer, that would be sadistic, all right? It says, as a matter of fact, let's go and define sadistic. What is sadistic? Sadistic means...
Sadistic.
Deriving pleasure, gratification, or thrills from inflicting physical or mental pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. And of course, it's a scripture that we get a lot. What comes to mind is all right, Ezekiel 35 and 6, because again, these individuals love what they do, all right? They don't hate bloodshed, they love bloodshed, right? We got to get from verse 5. It says, and this is dealing with, did I have this pre-written down in here? No, I did not. Again, like I said, I try to get different scriptures, but these ones come up, all right? Yeah, people say, if you really look down to it, a lot of the lessons are going to be the same lessons that have been being made because it's the same Bible that's been being read for years upon years. All right, and a lot of these people like to complain, but they don't even understand. So anyway, Ezekiel 35 and 5 says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, that means an unending, never-changing hatred, and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in their time, in the time of their iniquity, Slakia, the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. So that thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So I wanted to get that. Again, we're trying to get scriptures that are, not just the same ones over and over again. But that's one that comes to mind, is that they love blood, all right? And they've continuously pursued Israel with the sword, man. Whether it be the old sword, the modern day sword, which is the gun, they just continuously do it over and over and over again, right? They don't change. That's perpetual, never changing, never ending, or in a way that seemingly seems, or seems to be, not seemingly seems, but seemingly is unchanging, right? And it's not seemingly, it's literally that it's unchanging. They do the same shit over and over and over again. And that's because who they are as a true person. If you see someone repeating the same issues over and over and over again, that's indicative of what type of person they are. All right. If someone keeps on killing over and over and over and over and over again, they're a killer. If someone keeps on ignoring, all right, their discernment's fucked up, and they're without understanding. All right. If someone keeps on skateboarding over and over and over again, they're a skater. If someone's in the kitchen cooking constantly, they're a cook. Right. That's indicative of what type of person they are, what type of individual they are. All right. So those are the keys to look at. If Esau keeps on doing this, that's indicative of who he is. It's not something that happened once, twice, thrice. All right, not even 4 times. This is something that has routinely happened over and over and over and over and over again, and is going to continue to happen over and over and over and over again until Yahushua comes back and deads this place and ultimately saves the elect, which who we hope we are, and gets the fuck out of this place. And we can't wait to get the fuck out of this place, man. We hate this fucking place. We hate everybody in this fucking place. All right, all the dumbasses, all the bug outs, all the people that don't understand shit, all the Edomites, all the heathens. All right, everybody that's had to lay hold upon Israel. All right, we don't like these individuals. Okay, we'd rather be dwelling up with Yahushua, but we got to wait. All right, we got to wait. So and meanwhile, we got to be down with these fucking savages. All right, meanwhile they're calling us savages. Jake doesn't do shit like this. What are you talking about? Among those horrors, cannibalism was just one. Rape, torture, and beating, sadistic murders, and another accusation of cannibalism. This one, directed towards the ship's sailors, filled page after page of depositions, perhaps due to the challenging nature of the accusation and to the fact that, as Vincent Brown has contended, these inquests laid out the axes, boundaries, and values of community. It said it took between 7 and 8 months for the British authorities in Jamaica, and again, they were going down to Montego Bay, to give enough credence to the testimony of these young Israelites before reluctantly starting a proper investigation that eventually involved them as well as the Colonial Office and the Admiralty, not even familiar with that word, Brown 2008-78, whatever that means. During that time, the Israelites had first been taken care of, although of the 332 who landed in Montego Bay, 66 died. We already got this part, but again, 66 died in the following weeks, and then hastily apprenticed according to the dispositions associated with the Emancipation Act of 1833 within the parishes of St. James and Hanover on northern western Jamaica. The story of these children and young men and women, again, Esau likes, messing with the little children, was simply harrowing. According to many of them, a few days before being seized by the British cruiser, one of them, a grown-up man called Mina, who, according to all descriptions given, was not black man, but a yellow man, right? He was, yellow. He was yellow skin, light skin, right? Very light skin. It says was forced to drink alcohol, and mind you, you don't really see African individuals that are, yellow. That's not something you really see. You see it happen with Jake because Jake comes in brown, ruddy, yellow, but Ham really comes in like a few shades of dark. That's pretty much it. All right. And then, of course, if they had laid, all right, with other nations or individuals, of course, their skin color is going to change, a bit. But when you see Jake, even you could have a dark-skinned man get with a dark-skinned woman and come out with a light-skinned kid, that's just one of the things that can happen. But with Ham, you don't really see it every so often. I mean, there's albinism that happens, but, and is this person, albino? Could be, because you got the reggae artist Yellow Man, who is albino that goes by that name Yellow Man. So maybe, maybe this guy could have been a albino individual. All right, but again, we weren't there at the time, or at least we don't know if we were, so it's not something we can really speculate on. We can only make, certain assumptions based off of, he was called a yellow man. So either light skin or suffering from leprosy, right, which is really, as they call it, albinism. All right, it's, technically you don't have leprosy as in a form that's spreadable, but you are a leper, right? Still, it says was forced to drink alcohol. Then, after being taken behind a sail on the bow, he was slaughtered. It says, although, as one would expect, some minor specifics in the testimonies of the witnesses were inconsistent. See, it says they were inconsistent. It didn't happen. Sure, buddy. Whatever you say. It says most of them agreed that the man cried out for help as he was being killed and that his blood remained on the deck the next day. Some witnesses claimed that his head, hands, and his feet were cut off and thrown overboard, and the rest of him was cut up into square pieces and served to the rest of the Israelites on board as food. Furthermore, in a very revealing testimony, one witness has stated that Mina's heart and liver were also cooked and eaten by the Portuguese sailors. And again, you're going to say, well, that's just speculation. Well, I'm sure they weren't just freely walking around on the fucking bow, all right, just walking around the boat. I'm sure they were speculating from, if you ever seen those slave ships, they had like little slots in the floor, so they could probably, see bits and pieces from that, or, from cages that they'd happen to be in. I'm sure they weren't just walking around willy-nilly, right? It said, regardless of whether cannibalistic practices did indeed take place on board the Aragante. No, it's not regardless. That's something that, again, and you're never going to get the full truth with Esau, okay? Because he, the person that's in, there was a, who quoted that? Who's in power controls history. It was the guy with, his name started with an A. That was it. No, it wasn't. That wasn't. And actually, it was who's the guy I'm thinking of? Anyway, it's besides the point because it wasn't the guy. This was a quote from 1984 by George Orwell. All right, in his 1984 book. It says the quote is, "Who controls the past controls the future. Who controls the present controls the past." Okay. So, if you have the power in your hand you're the one who's printing all these history books, you're the one who's making all the curriculum in the schools, well, you can make anything go away if you really want to, but Yahweh Shem Shai always reveals it, all right? And that's ultimately the big chunk of this lesson is about that, that revelation that's going to come through Yahweh Shem Shai. And it's already happening, all right? You already got Jake to a more lucid state, I guess I'll say, a more lucid state than they have ever been in. All right, of course, not all Jake, because some are still wide of fucking sleep. But you have some Jake out there that are, learning about the Tuskegee experiments. They're learning about, this guy, on this post over here talking about they were eating people. And back in the day, not a lot of Jake knew that. Older individuals knew about some of those things, but they don't generally like to talk about those things. And in turn, it's really kind of just making the history go away. All right, so these are more things that need to be talked about. But again, if you see something that's that's extremely violent, it's just like the war. A lot of people don't like to talk about that. They don't like to relive that experience. But the unfortunate truth is that sometimes you have to relive experiences to get that, information out. Okay? So that's why they do it when they interrogate you. All right? If someone broke into your house and, slaughtered your family, I mean, no matter how hard it is, you're going to having to sit in that chair. If you saw that individual come in and do it, you're going to have to say what they looked like, how tall they were, were they dark skinned, were they light skinned, were they white skinned, so-called, what nationality were they white, were they Mexican, were they Asian, all right, were they, what color of hair did they have, was it red, all right, did they have black hair, were they older, was it gray, did they have gray hair, or were they younger, what type, did he have a deep voice, or was it a high and squeaky voice, did he have big ears, or did he have small ears? They're going to ask you those things. And as much as you don't want to relive that situation, you're going to have to do it because that testimony needs to go out, right? So it says, regardless of whether cannibalistic practices did indeed take place on board the Aragante, by examining this case through a combination of ethnographic and microhistorical methods, it is possible to challenge the omniscient British colonial narrator voice that dominates in the paperwork created as a result of the investigation. Of course, that's that whole, we investigated ourselves and found ourselves to be not guilty. Well, of course, you investigated yourself, dummy. You're not going to ever see yourself as guilty, all right, unless you have the gift and ability of discernment. But a lot of people lack discernment. They can't really tell if they're wrong or if they're have done something wrong. All right, Esau, at the end of the day, they think all good things are bad things and all bad things are good things. So you're not going to be able to convince them otherwise, right? It says, in doing so, it is also possible to scrutinize and query the reasons why the colonial authorities in Jamaica, as well as the colonial office and the Admiralty, failed to fully investigate the accusations of cannibalism. At the end of the day, they just really didn't give a shit. That's why they failed to investigate. I mean, you got to look at the situation where we have things where we have so much evidence, and Esau will use a situation like this for plausible deniability, all right? But we have instances today, deniability. Let's go and get that real quick. But we have instances today which show you that Esau did do something. We have physical evidence on it, all right, whether it be eyewitnesses or a recording or whatever it happened to be, and those individuals still don't go away. All right, those individuals still don't go away. I mean, look at the person that shot. What was her name? Renee Good, right? Was that her name down there in Minnesota? Shot her. He said, what was her last? She said, okay. It wasn't even aggressive. What were her last words? It was like, I can't remember, but it wasn't even aggressive. All right. And her girlfriend, all right, that's besides the point, and ultimately probably led to her being judged again because, it's a wicked action. But she just said, drive, baby, drive. She didn't say hit him. She didn't say attack this police officer. She said drive, like get the fuck out of there, right? Because why? She was being pressed by the police. And again, it was a lack of circumspection that they were down there in the first place, all right? But again, not justifying anybody's behavior. They shouldn't have been there in the first place. But at the end of the day, that guy pulled his gun and drew down on her and blew her ass away. All right, and we saw it. We also saw it with that guy Alex. All right, I can't remember his last name, Slovakia, but we saw it that way. They said he had a gun. The gun had already been taken from him. We have video proof. And then that guy shot him in the head. All right, while he was down on the ground, pinned. All right, and those guys are not. Those guys aren't going away, right? Those guys aren't going away. Why? Because they investigated themselves and they found themselves to be not guilty. Anyway, Esau operates off of plausible deniability in the past. If they say, oh, well see, the reports say, that, well, obviously, you ran the reports. You didn't find yourself guilty. You're going to operate off of plausible deniability. It's just the same thing if we had, 200 years more here. And thank you, how Bosh Meow Shai, we don't, because fuck this place. They would say in the future that, that whole Renee, Renee Michelle Good, that situation never happened. That situation never happened. Well, yeah, but again, we know now that it happened because we saw it. We watched the video clips on it. Some of us were there. All right, I wasn't. Some of us as individuals. All right, people, human beings that were there to have an eyewitness account. They were there. But 200 years from now, someone would say, oh no, they put that in there. Or, one of the more radical political parties put that in there. Or, and the only way they could really be able to tell is if there was still video that was saved. And again, that's why Esau tries to take all these videos down. All right, if you find something, you better screen cap it and fucking roll with it. All right, you better figure something out, man. Or record that shit to VHS. All right, you better download that shit to MP3. If you hear something, shit, because they'll get rid of it. All right, there's been time and time. There was a I don't even know if I should talk about that, but I'll be very careful with what I'm saying. There was a photo, a screenshot, a infographic, however you want to say it, about this nurse, I think she was in Amsterdam, that was talking about how the snake juice, all right, the bug juice, okay, the syrup, all right, you know what we're talking about if you've been around, that there was 3 different versions of it, all right, and the 3 different versions of that, bug juice, that Pepsi, all right, that Capri Sun, they all had different effects, all right. One didn't do anything at all. One did do something, all right, and, that was, something indeed. And then the other one would have, a type of deadly cell, all right, eventually start multiplying rapidly throughout your body, making you extremely sick. And that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, there was an infographic I had on that. and it was going around, and I have it on my computer now, but the only instance I have of it is like a screenshot of a photo. Okay, I found it online after scouring the internet, and it's a screenshot of a screen, and the quality's horrible, but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, it serves its purpose. But you can't find the original thing about it. All right, I don't remember if there was a video with it originally. There might have been a video with it originally, but you can't find it anymore. All right, so if you find something out there, you hear something. I mean, even so much as this article could just fucking vanish overnight, and I would never be able to finish the lesson on it. All right, I mean, well, as far as reading the rest of it, right? But anyway, plausible deniability is the ability of senior officials or leaders to deny knowledge of or responsibility for illegal and unethical acts carried out by subordinates due to lack of evidence. There. Let's see. There's a scripture. I mean, not the secret council, of course. What scripture do I want to get? Let me think. Let me go and read plausible deniability again. Let me go. I think I have something for this. Let's go with, let's just go in order. Let's go with Proverbs 26 and 26. Okay? Let's get it. Proverbs 26 and verse 26. And it's going to go ahead and read. It says, let's get up from let's go up from 15 or so. All right, we'll go on down. I can't remember this one. Who was this one talking about? Is this one Just talking about Judah, Proverbs 26. Let me see. Who is Proverbs 26 speaking to? This is just Solomon dealing with just wicked people in general. All right, I always try to go and get who it was because some of these scriptures were referring to Judah at the time. Some of them were referring to just the wicked, or some of them were blanket for anybody that were doing those things. I always try to let it be known who it's talking to, because even if it's talking to Judah was doing wickedness, and that same wickedness, if someone else is doing it, it's the same thing that's going to be said to those people. Matter of fact, if they're heathens, it's going to be even harsher, right? But anyway, Proverbs 26 and 15, all right? Or, yeah, we'll just get, why not, 15. It says, the slothful hideth his hand in his bosom, it grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. So again, a lot of these people are wise in their own conceit. All right, what does it mean to be wise in your own conceit? You're leaning into your own understanding, right? Verse 17, he that passeth by and meddleth with strife belongeth not to him. It is like one that taketh a dog by the ears. As a madman who casteth firebrands, arrows, and death, so is a man that deceiveth his neighbor and saith, am not I in sport? And again, biggest deceiver is Esau, Edom. All right, they're the biggest deceiver if you really want to get down to that. All right, touching a little bit on 19, someone that deceives. All right, so and really someone who deceives their neighbor would be someone from the same walk of life, really. Okay, and in this case, Israelites. All right, those are our neighbors. All right, even the small hats get that. All right, they know. There was a billboard that was put out that said, what did it say? I just saw it the other day. People were, criticizing it all over social media. It's basically said that when Jesus said, that's what it was. I think it said, when Jesus said, love thy neighbor, I think that's what the billboard said, something along those lines. It said, when Jesus said, love thy neighbor, he was talking about Jews loving other Jews, not everyone. That was a billboard. All right, let me see if I can go and find it for you. Yeah, here it is. People were pretty pissed off at this. All right, said when Jesus said, love thy neighbor, all his neighbors were Jews. Right, so even the small hats got it. All right, the small people get it. Look, JewBelong.org, paid for by CBN Israel. Right, so let's see, what else do we got? Any of those billboards? But there's a lot of different shit. But anyway, that's the billboard, right? This one right here. When matter of fact, I will change it because I'll say Yahushua to this because they are correct. They didn't know that they brought this out. When Yahushua said, love thy neighbor, all his neighbors were Jews. It's true. Israelites. Okay? He didn't mean love everybody. All right? If you go and look at that word neighbor, it's going to talk about what? Matter of fact, prove all things. Prove all things. Matthew 22 and 36. Gotta prove it. Right here. Man, I'm horrible with numbers. 1 minute. No, Matthew 22 and 36. 39 is really the one we're looking for. 22 and 39. Here it is, Matthew, any moment now, 22 and 39. And the second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So let's go and look at this word neighbor. Now this is in Greek, so it's going to say plesion, right?
Strong's G, 4139, plesion.
Or plesion, right, as it says. Now what's it going to say here? Okay, it says a fellow man as a man, countryman, Christian, or friend. Going off. All right, right here. Not number one, a neighbor. Well, it is, or not number one, a friend. It's not a friend. All right, they can be a friend, but it's dealing with number two. Okay, and they go off at number three, saying any man, irrespective of nation. No, if you keep on going to the Greek, you'll look in. There's going to be words like cosmos. Lord's dealing with only Israel. That's it. But again, plausible deniability, or which you can't. There's no plausibility in this one. It's not. You can't deny this one. But go ahead. So it says two. It says where any other person, and where two or more considered, the other, thy fellow man, thy neighbor. Right here. According to the Jews, any member of the Hebrew nation and commonwealth. And they still went off on that because it's really only dealing with Israel. Because you can be a Hebrew Edomite. You can be a Hebrew Moabite or a Hebrew Ammonite. All right? You got to be a Hebrew Israelite. Okay? That's the thing. Hebrew Israelite. But anyway, getting back on the point. Again, plausible deniability. These individuals, saying, oh, you're supposed to love everybody. Anyway, got that out there. Back to the point. It says, instead, this article seeks to present an alternative I'll just read it. I'm like, we already read some of this, but instead the article seeks to present an alternative interpretation to those offered by the colonial authorities who are in charge of the investigation, as well as to challenge the very core values and beliefs that stop those same magistrates from pursuing promising leads, and from further investigating, going too fast, interrogating witnesses in search of what may have been. They don't care what, at the end of it, even if it did happen or if it didn't happen, they don't care. They're not going to, put any of their effort into it, all right? Not when it's Jake. It says, in search of what may have been. They're not going to reveal their own selves. It says, to them, the Lord will cause them, to be revealed, but, you know what? We got to go back because we didn't even finish up. Sidetrack. But, so verse 20. Anyway, but yeah, so they're not going to, again, they're going to try to hide all those things away because they don't want to put them out in the open for everybody to see. Why would you do that, right? If that happens, that's the Lord revealing your ass, and they didn't mean to do it, but, they did it on accident. But it wasn't really an accident because the Lord had them do it purposely. Again, you got to use some, I don't want to say abstract thinking, but really it is an abstract thinking. They did it. But it was an accident, but it really wasn't an accident because the Lord caused it to happen, but they would consider it an action that information came out. All right? So it says, verse 20, where no wood is, there the fire goeth out. So where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. Okay? What is a talebearer? Talebearer meaning. Okay? A person who habitually spreads gossip, secrets, or rumors. All right, with the intention of causing trouble, discord, or harm. Okay, so it says, so where there is no talebearer, the strife ceaseth. There's a lot of ceaseth. There's a lot of people that'll just try to say things about you that are not true. Again, if you're saying something about an individual that is true, that's just a testimony. If you're saying about something, spreading rumors about someone that's not true, one, that's false witness, that's talebearing, and that's causing strife, right? So, but where you don't have a talebearer, a rumor maker, all right, that strife is going to cease. It says, as coals are to burning coals, and wood is to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. An argumentative person. All right, this deals for women as well. So an argumentative person is going to, just get, strife. They're going to cause strife, and that's disagreement, bitter disagreement, I believe, as it says, and go and look it up. I think strife is labeled as bitter disagreement. Bitter, sometimes violent conflict, all right? Or rugged struggle between two individuals, okay? So that's strife. All right, lack of harmony, okay? So is a contentious man to kindle strife. I believe, and that's why you just got to choose your battles carefully, all right? Some people are just, their whole purpose is just to, kindle strife. That's what they want to do at the end of the day. So it says the words being contentious. Some people are just purposely contentious, right? That's what they live for, being contentious and argumentative. It says, the words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they that go down into the innermost parts of the belly. Burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hateth disassembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. Again, deceit is causing someone to believe, deliberately believing a lie. Okay, so you have those individuals that will hate someone, and they'll just start making shit up. All right, they'll start bearing false witness. They'll say, oh, you did this, you did that. And really, if that's a perfect example for 22 and 23, 20 and 20 as well, because this is Esau. All right, there's a lot of people of our nation that do that same thing, but this is Esau at the end of the day as well, because what he tries to do is kindle a bunch of strife. All right, he's contentious. He's argumentative. He'll tell you over and over and over again how the slave trade wasn't as bad as it's made out to be. All right, about how slum slave masters were really nice, and how you didn't, all these different things, right? That's contentious. And then again, they'll kindle strife. Disagreement. They'll cause. One of the things that they do is they say, "Oh, it really wasn't that bad," and then they'll have one Jake believe in that, and then arguing with the other Jake that says, "Nah, man, what they were doing to us was terrible." No, you're wrong. They weren't doing that. All right, we got to forgive and forget, brother. All right, completely ridiculous, right? But again, it says, he that hateth disassembleth with his lips. So, tries to, what is disassembling something? Breaking it down, all right? Putting it into bits and bits. And that's what these individuals try to do. These Edomite individuals try to do with this truth. They try to disassemble it. And they're not really good at it. They can't really do it, all right? Some individuals are going to fall into that, false notion. All right, look, they're cutting through this truth. right? See, that's Jesus' name is glorified. That's fine. You can go ahead and do that if that's what you want to believe. But just because you don't believe it, don't mean it's true. All right, Esau's a liar, man. That's what they do. They have deceit. And if just because you believe Esau's deceit, if they tell you that, transatlantic slave trade wasn't as bad and you believe it, well, that's deceit. And, nobody can make you not believe that. All right, they can only present evidence before you that, if you're an intellectual, will change your mind. If you don't change your mind, you don't change your mind. All right, and that's part of Esau's deceit. But anyway, in verse 25, it says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not. What is fair speaking? All right, what is fair speaking? Let's go and look that up. Fair speaking. That's those soft words. That's making themselves out to be good people. All right. Fair speaking is what? Using polite, civil, and courteous language. All right. Smooth speaking or plausible. And that's how Esau will get you. And again, this truth is never about being fair speaking. This truth isn't about, not hurting feelings. It's not about saying, oh, well, Esau, he was pretty bad with a lot of things, but we're not going to cuss Esau out. We're never going to curse Esau out. That would just be wrong. Esau did a lot of things that were wrong, but that doesn't make it right for us to cuss them out or, to condemn them for the things that they did. We should all, be polite, and we should be civil with one another, and we should never, you got that Michael Jackson spirit, right? And that's what people want. They want those fair speeches. And that's the same way false prophets used to, get these individuals tied up by fair speeches. KJV. This is Romans 16 and 18. This happens a lot with our people. It says, for they that are such serve not our Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, but their own belly, and by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. So the simple are really the stupid, the ignorant, the morons, the retards. All right, they're being deceived, all right, by individuals like Vocab Alone and so on. All these apologists, these Christians, all right, people like Geno Jennings, all right, they're being deceived by those people. And again, Geno Jennings is not the best example because he's not particularly fair-spoken. He does yell a lot, but you got a lot of these individuals out there that think we should never yell, we should never scream, we should never get angry, we should just take it, we should just, be slaves, and whatever Esau said or did to us, just be fine with it. Don't ever yell about what he did to us. Don't get mad or angry about, what he did. Don't ever get heated. All right, you should never get upset and yell, all right, because Esau did those things to you. No, man, no. We're going to get upset. We're going to be mad. We're going to yell. All right, that's how it happens. And that fair speech shit, all right, that's how people end up getting caught up. All right, people want to be told, smooth things. All right, and that talked about that. Prophesying to smooth things, not right things, but prophesying to smooth things, prophesy to seats. All right, they'd rather be told things that are smooth and that don't hurt their feelings, all right, than things that are true. A lot of these jakes at the end of the day, they don't want to know what Esau did. Okay, they don't want to know what Esau did at the end of the day. They don't have any ambition on knowing about the gator bait. They don't have any ambition knowing about the sweat boxes. They don't have any ambition about knowing the motherfucker. They don't. If going to the northern kingdom, they don't have any ambition about. And some of those individuals were Edomites, even though they look like Mexican individuals. Those cartel leaders that would literally go and do the train of death, where they'd open up a train where people that are trying to get out of Mexico, and they'd throw in a hammer and make the men beat each other to death until one person was still alive with a hammer. And that type of shit. All right, but they don't want any of that type of shit spoken of, right? Because they don't want that known. All right, they'd rather not know those things. They'd rather not know that Esau was buck breaking individuals. They'd rather not know that Esau was flaying Jake and eating their human flesh. They'd rather not know that they're ripping perfectly healthy teeth out of the jaws of Jake men and making dentures out of it. They'd rather not know that they're taking Jake hair, probably from Jake that had been killed, and making sofa cushions and pillows out of it. They'd rather not know those things. And again, and when we talk about it, they say, hey, man, you don't have to be so hateful. You don't have to be so hateful. All right, these individuals are not the same individuals that were back. Yes, they were. Just because you don't understand the Bible doesn't mean that any of us should have to coddle to you. If you don't understand that these are the same individuals coming back to the regeneration and reincarnation, all right, you can say, oh, Dave, he never had a slave. Yeah, Dave in this life never had a slave. Dave in this life grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. Dave in this life went around and he had a job. Dave in this life worked at a gas station attendant. That's what Dave in this life did. But guess what? In his past life, he was big old Dave slap a Negro, all right, or chop a Negro up. That's who he was, all right, but not in this life. So what, he just gets a free pass because that's not who he was in this past life? It's the same thing with you Jakes, man. You think you are who you are in this life. A lot of you Jakes are the same people that said, crucify him, crucify him. A lot of you are the same people that denied Yahweh Shai. A lot of you are the same people that put the prophets to death. A lot of you are the same people that went out there and you made all these different lies about the Lord and his people. All right, you're the same fucking individuals. A lot of you are the same people that tried to stand up for the white man. All right, you're those same fucking individuals coming back. All right, and you don't like us when we say, oh, mean things or hurtful things or swear or raise our voice. Right? Because you want something that's fair spoken. But going back to the scripture, what does it talk about something that's, even if he does speak fair? And again, stay away from these motherfuckers that are out here speaking fair, being soft, these soft voice, pussy ass, fucking no nut having fucking individuals walking around saying smooth shit all the goddamn time. Stay away from them. If you look at the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, they're not doing it smooth. If you looked at the brothers of Great Millstone, they're not doing it smooth. If you're an individual that needs everything handed to you smooth like a fucking peanut butter and jelly goddamn sandwich, you need to examine yourself, but you won't. That's fine. Keep on thinking Esau is your best friend, all right? But when he whacks you up in the goddamn middle of the night in the back of your head and starts slurping on you, all right, like you're a goddamn Capri Sun, don't get fucking offended and say, well, why did he do that? Well, because we told you who he was. He's the goddamn devil. So what do you think he's going to do? Some devilish shit. Duh. All right? You're never supposed to trust him. There's another scripture that talks about never trust thine enemy, for as evil rusteth, so is his... so as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. And then goes on to talk about right after that, not putting this person by you, yet like, he's going to usurp you and try to put himself over you. Never trust thine enemy. All right, but you'll listen to those smoothness of words. All right, and again, Esau's known for having smooth words. Let's go and get it. Words smoother than butter. We haven't got this one in a while. All right. But Psalms 55 and 21 right here, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Meaning what? He's going to fucking kill you. He's going to put you to death. He's going to talk sweetly, and then he's going to slay your ass down. He's going to smite you like you're a dragon in Dungeons and Dragons. All right, and that motherfucker's going to roll a natural 20, and he's going to smite your ass, and you're going to die because you thought you should trust him. All right, you thought you should hang around him. All right, it's the same thing with these 2/3 individuals. You Jake's trying to hang around these individuals. You have no fucking basis hanging around. All right, these individuals that are out there smoking weed, doing all this wicked shit, and you want to, go along to get along. You don't want to offend anybody. You want to hold back your sword from blood. Well, guess what? You're going to go right along with those individuals that are doing all this wicked shit. Go ahead, die with them. All right? We're done. We want out of this place. We want Yahweh Shai to come back and destroy all you fucking people, all you fucking Edomites, all you wicked-ass 2/3 Jakes. We want all the heathens, all right, everybody that doesn't believe, all of you, because you all got to go, all right, because if half of you, Jake, again, because the elect, Lord one, that's us, that's 1/3 of us, a very small part of a big nation, all right, that are even going to, and cast that judgment upon Esau and say, hey, man, the Lord's going to deliver you up to be judged, all right? We're not going to do it ourselves, but we're going to condemn them, all right, and we're going to cast that judgment upon them in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We're supposed to speak against them. We're supposed to condemn them, all right? We're supposed to mark those individuals, those Edomites, right? But again, if it was up to Jake, all right, the other 2/3, these motherfuckers would be letting the white man in on the blessing. All right, they'd say, oh, well, brother, you got to learn to forgive and forget. You shouldn't really, hold a grudge over Esau, the white man. It's been, 200 years now? Come on, man. Why shouldn't we forget? It's not like they whipping us now. It's not like we're picking cotton now. Well, yeah, but, that's because Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai has it that way. If Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai wasn't coming back and didn't have it coming back to the end, and Esau was in power as they think they were, they'd have your ass saying, oh, I want to go home. I've been picking this field for the master I use. They'd be having your ass all that, all goddamn day, singing slave songs out there. All right, singing swing low, sweet chariot, carry forth I can't even speak. All right, coming forth to carry me home. They'd have your ass out there. All right, and then it would take that for a simple ass, stupid ass Negro to get that. Look, these people are bad people. They're still doing it. They were doing the Tuskegee experiment in the goddamn 80s. That's not too long ago. 40 years ago? Probably longer than now. All right, but yeah, man, it's fucking. If it was up to Jake, you'd let Esau partake in the blessing. Well, I don't think it's right for us to just boycott it, Not all of them are bad people. You know, you don't understand the bloodline. You don't understand the reincarnation. That same individual now, that's your buddy Chris, all right, that's your buddy Larry, all right, that's your buddy Rodney, all right, that's that same individual in the past life, all right, was smacking your mama up, all right, and whooping her ass, all right, and raping her and doing all sorts of fucking atrocities. But again, go ahead, show out for the white man, all right, listen to the white man, and listen to what you want to do, Jake. Go ahead, all right, go ahead. But anyway, rant over, verse 25, 26 and 25, Proverbs 26 and 25, it says, I'm going to start it from 23. It says, burning lips and a wicked heart are like a potsherd covered with silver dross. He that hateth dissembleth with his lips, and layeth up deceit within him. When he speaketh fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Whose hatred is covered by deceit, his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. So this wickedness is eventually going to be revealed before everybody, all right? But it's only going to be for those that can get it, because there's going to be a lot of individuals out there, all right? And some of the individuals that are in this truth now are not going to get it. They think they know it, and they're going to bug right the fuck out and go back in the world. There's going to be individuals that have never known it that are going to end up knowing it in the past end days. There's going to be people that, you know, never knew it, and they're still never going to know it. All right, and that's how it's going to be. And Esau is going to keep on covering all this shit up. They're going to keep on sweeping it under the rug. But Yahweh Shai is going to reveal it unto those who he reveals it unto. All right, he revealed his secret unto his servants, the prophets. And the prophets, all right, go and give that to the men, women, and children, all right, notably the elect that want to listen, hear, all right, and be able to absorb this truth through Yahweh Shai, through that Holy Spirit that's been put onto them. If you don't have it, you're not going to get it. All right, you might have it for a time being, and it's going to be taken away. But the fact of the matter is that Esau's covering up all his hatred. He's covering up all the deceit. He's covering up the lies. He's covering up all his wickedness. He's covering up all the iniquity. Covering up all the stumbling blocks. That all goes back into the hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. All right, that's their counsel. They sit around. All right, they come up with iniquity. They acquire a diligent search. All right, for these iniquities. You know, to bend their arrows and shoot at the perfect. That's those fucking doctrines. That's that homosexuality in the TV. That's teaching kids about non-binary people. All right, that's putting the whole God loves everybody. That's all these are different stumbling blocks. All these things are different, you know, wicked it's shit that they put out. All right, and Jake out there in their simplicity, even though the Bible says when he speaketh fair to believe him not, when they speaketh fair, they're gonna believe him so. Right? And what are we supposed to do about that? All we are is sent by Yahweh Shai to give you the message. If you don't listen to it, you want to walk around with Esau, all right, with him holding the fucking your pocket turned inside out like you're a prison punk. What can we do about it? We can't pull you out of that. All right, we can't help you out of that. If you're not going to get to understand it, we can't help you from that. All right, if you're going to be offended because we talked about the white man, we can't help you about that. What are we going to do? All right, we can't sit you down and give you all the information because you're just going to say it's a lie. We can't show you in the scriptures. You're going to say, where does that say Esau is the white man? Well, it's not going to say that in the scripture. Just like in the scripture, it doesn't say America is Babylon the Great. All right, the USA and the white person in America, that is the Edomites. That is the current land that's Idumea. And when I said in the Bible, the land that's spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, I meant specifically America. When I said the northern country, I meant specifically America, specifically the United States of America. And when I talked about the 2/3, I was talking about the black individuals that were... No, the Lord doesn't look. He revealed his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. If you can't get it, you can't get it. There's nothing we can do about it. All right, Jake? And I've seen a lot of fucking coons out there that are just ready to fucking coon out for the white man. All right? There's just, well, the white man ain't all bad. Yes, he is. All right? Yes, he is. Okay? A poisonous snake bite's always bad. All right? There's no poison. Well, I'm glad I got bit by this poisonous snake. Why the fuck would you be glad that you got bit by the poisonous snake? What's the point? What was the benefit that you got out of it? You didn't get anything out of it. All right? Just a dumb, dullard Negro walking around in a fucking lack of mind that he thinks that he has that he really doesn't have. All right? You fucking reached inside your brain canal, took out your brain, flushed it down the toilet, reached in the toilet, took the shit out the toilet, and swapped it. Now you got a brain full of shit and a toilet full of brain. Go ahead and flush it, Jake. What are we going to do? We can't fucking, lead you out of that. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Congratulations. Congratulations, all right? The fucking dumbass Negro of the Year award goes to you, Jake. All right, the dumbass Latino or Native American award, all right, goes to you. Congratulations. All right, congratulations. So applaud yourself, all you pookies, you ray-rays, you spookies, all right, you running bulls, you sitting hawks, all right? All of you, applaud yourselves, all right, for not getting the understanding, all right? Applaud yourself, right? It's not like you had anything to do, but, congratulations. You have no understanding. Anyway, and this shit pisses me off, man. It really pisses me off to even read this type of shit, because Esau constantly, you never have here it is, Esau did something. They never let a Israelite, all right, they never let a Hamite, they never let a Moabite, they never, no, I'll use the modern day nations. They never let, a so-called black individual, they never let a so-called African individual or a Ethiopian or a Mexican individual, or I'm not naming just Jake, I'm naming everybody, or an Asian, they never let these individuals investigate them. No, white people do a crime and they always have the fucking white people investigate them. You think they're going to find themselves guilty? No. No, but when Jake does a crime, is it Jake that goes and examines themselves? Fuck no. It's a white man that goes and investigates and finds them guilty. All right? Again, court of law, you have a white judge, you have a white person that did some crime that's, worthy of death, they're going to find them not guilty. All right? You're going to have a white judge, they have a black individual, so-called, they did some crime worthy of death, they're going to put them to death? Yep, absolutely. They did a crime that wasn't even worthy of death, they're going to put them to death? Yep. They did a crime that wasn't even worthy of even being in there, they're still going to lock them up? Yep. Because that's that prejudice, man. That's that hatred. That's that perpetual hatred, man. And we can't do nothing about it, but we can watch out for it. We can understand it, and we can understand, again, going back to the scriptures, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices. We know how they operate. We know how they're going to move. And it's our ability to be able to discern and, not dodge per se, but allow Yahweh Shema Shai to guide us through these situations, right? Anyway, so scriptures talking. Let's get back to the science direct thing, all right, and get through it, because again, this is gonna be a long series at this point. All right, there's a lot here, but anyway, I'm gonna skip some stuff. Talking about magistrates in Jamaica anyway, but here we go. So here's some more. It says, at this point, some questions about the way in which the British colonial authorities in Jamaica dealt with the investigation can be put forward. Did they really fail to believe the Israelites? Of course they failed to believe the Israelites. They don't want to believe them. They don't give a shit. All right, and even if they did believe them, they were eating people on board, sir. They were eating people on board. Oh yeah. Shut up, Negro, and back to your cage, you little fucking moon cricket, or we'll eat your fucking mom next. What the fuck? Did you hear what he said? Yeah, we heard what he said, coon. Back to your cage. What do you do in that situation? Fucking, make your own news herald. Hear ye, white people. No, they control the media. You can't do that. You'll go missing. Right? Can't do that. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? All right. Really, the only way this can go out is by teaching and preaching this truth. All right, and sincerity. All right, because Yahweh Shema Shai has protection of the prophets and the teachers of this truth. Right? That's it. Because if Esau, if it was in the power of their hand, which it's not, because Yahweh Shema Shai doesn't allow it, they would round every single one of our black and brown and speckled bird asses up and just slaughter us. Right? That's what they would do. Right? They'd send us, to Africa is what they try to do. We'd be there not knowing who. Why are you over here? Well, I don't know. We got sent over here. You are not even African. What are you doing over here? Well, this is where they sent us, man. I don't even know. Do you even know what fufu is? Do you even know anything? Do you even know about any food? Do you know about any African customs at all? Well, not really. So why are you here? I told you, man. They just sent us all over here because, they didn't want us in America anymore. We do not want you here either. Like, well, shit. What are we supposed to do, man? Right? But that's what would happen, right? You ever hear those, I can really only do the Nigerian accent as far as Africans go. And a lot of those Nigerians, most of those Nigerians are actually Jake, because they're West Africa, which is a big settling point of Israel when they were over in those lands. But the individuals, the East Africans and all that stuff, a lot of these individuals over there, if you hear them speak, they do not like the American black Negro. Fuck you. You are the worst individual on the planet Earth. You're loud. All right, nobody wants to hear you. You come over, and we are not the same people. We are not the same people. You are not me. I am not you. So do not try to come over here and say you are African American. You are not even African. All right, you are not American. You are not African. You are just a piece of shit. That's what they're gonna say. I've seen it happen. A lot of you brothers out there, you sisters too, have potentially seen it. There's been videos all over YouTube, all right, with these Hamitic individuals talking shit about Jake. And some of them might not even be Hamitic. Some of them are actually just fed up with Jake, right? Fed up with American mindset, right? And I understand it. I can't wait for this fucking place to be destroyed, man. The mindset of the American Negro and the American individual in general needs to be destroyed. But most importantly, the American Negro. Why the American Negro? I'll say the American Negro, Latino, Native American. Why? Because those are our people. That's who we care about. All right, we don't care about the fucked up mindset of a Hamite. All right, you know, you're besides our point. All right, we care about our people. So really, you know, you got to be destroyed for your own good, Jake. All right, hate to say it. Did they really fail to believe the Africans? Israelites? Yes, they did, because they didn't want him, and they didn't care even if they were having Negro stew, they wouldn't care. All right, you guys really have a Negro stew? Yeah, we are having Negro stew. Matter of fact, we have some left over. Really? How do they taste? Is it dark meat? Is it like turkey? Or I assume it's like turkey, right? It's not like chicken, because chicken's more of a light meat. I assume we taste more like chicken. Well, they say human meat tastes like pork. Is it more like a dark pork? I don't know if that even exists, because most pork is light meat. Do we have dark pork meat? Is it like a dark pork? Is it like a combination of pork with a mix of like a little bit of that dark meat from turkey? Is that what it tastes like? Is that what Negro tastes? Man, would you have a bowl? Let me try it. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. These people are crazy. So it says, or did they instead not choose to believe them in hope of avoiding a long, potentially embarrassing judicial process with during which the superiority of their own culture and civilization might be brought into question? That's what it was. That's what it was. Because you can't call people savages while you're eating people. You can't call people savages. And they can't. That's why Esau can't call us savages, right? Well, I don't even want to say that because that sounds sick. All right, but I'm gonna say it because it is sick. All right, they can't call us savages while they're 3 inches deep. All right, 5 inches deep inside a 3-year-old. All right, with human meat dripping down their chin. All right, they can't call us fucking savages. Okay, they can't call us savages when they got their rod inside someone that's not even fucking elementary school age. All right, let alone middle school age. Let alone, you know, they have that going on with them. All right, with human meat. All right, in their teeth. All right, sticking out, you know, and you know, bits of bone being swallowed down with them. All right, and masquerade. They cannot call us savages at all. All right, to quote Kanye West, they cannot give me no advice. They cannot give us no advice. They cannot say who we are. All right, while they're permitting these profane acts of wickedness and trying to say we're the savages. No, we're not the savages, motherfucker. You're the savages. You're the savages. I've never got with a little child. I've never once done that. I've never eaten human flesh. All right. Well, I'll take that back. I've maybe eaten a little human flesh. You know, when you get that little piece of skin on the side of your thumb that's kind of hanging out a little bit. You got to go at it with your teeth. You got to chomp at it a little bit. But that's the most I've ever done. You get it. And most of the time, you spit it out. Right? Most of the time. There's sometimes, you know, it gets in there and you end up swallowing or whatever. But most of the time, you spit it out. You know, you rip that piece off, or, you know, you're chewing on the edge of your fingernail. You spit it out. You know, you're not... but no, these motherfuckers are having, you know, deep fried southern soaked Negro. That's what they're having, man. These motherfuckers are crazy, and they're eating baby, man. They say, oh, it tastes like, what they say? They said it was they say it was Greek yogurt. What did they say it was? It was something in the Epstein files. They kept on saying, they said it tastes like pudding type consistency, right? They said, well, I don't know how it compares to baby, the consistency of baby. What the fuck do you mean compared to the consistency of baby? I've never said, oh, how does that compare to the consistency of human? I wouldn't know what the consistency of human tastes like. So why would I fucking compare it? Anyway, so, you know, I'm going to read this again. I'm going to read it again because at this point, some questions about the way in which the British colonial authorities in Jamaica dealt with these were Brits, all right, these are Edomites, all right, Englishmen. We did the investigation and we didn't say anything about any human meat on board. Not one bit, Nick. Not one bit did we say anything about any Africans being eaten. We not one bit, Nick. We didn't do it. We didn't do it at all. I tell you, we investigated. We didn't see anybody out there eating any human meat. Shut the fuck up, man. It says, at this point, some questions about the way in which the British colonial authorities in Jamaica dealt with the investigation could put forward. Did they really fail to believe the Israelites? Yes, it's not even that. It's even if they did believe us, they knew what they did, right? They believed us because they knew what they did. It's the second part, that part, all right, that part, this part right here, that part. Or did they instead choose not to believe it? No. It's not that they didn't choose to believe them. Instead, they chose not to look into it. They chose to cover it up, Why? In hope of avoiding a long, potentially embarrassing and revealing, I'll insert that, judicial process during which the superiority of their own culture and civilization might be brought into question. You know, we are absolutely we are the Lord's chosen people. You know, we are the highest among all men. You know, the highest among all people. Don't you eat people? Well, didn't you bring it? Wasn't it brought out that you eat people? Wasn't it brought out that you were, having sex with little children? Wasn't it brought out that you were having sex with animals? Well, in the Bible, doesn't it say that, you were braying with, as donkeys bray, kind of? Pretty much, you were braying. That's what donkeys do. Donkeys bray. It said you were braying. You must have been braying. You must have been hooting and hollering, and you were making your place where you live under juniper bushes and juniper berries. That's what you were doing. You were, suckling on roots. Wasn't that you? Well, they had to cover that up, man. They couldn't have left that out. Like, oh, yes, absolutely. We are the Edomites. Well, the Bible portrays Edomites as a very low individual. Matter of fact, it calls you the border of wickedness. It calls you a base man. So your base man is somebody low-born, all right, dishonorable, low among all nations, all right? And then you go and look at the scripture and say, I shall make you low among all the heathens. So you're the lowest of the low. You're the lowest of the low. You bray like donkeys. You eat human people. Come on now, man. And that's why you had to come up with those covering casts, E. All right, you couldn't have that out. You couldn't go out. And I get it. I understand it. That's fine. But, man, we can't wait to get the fuck out of this place, man. If tomorrow the Mark of the Beast rolled out and people started taking it and Yahushua came back, the day after, man, call all Yahweh Shem Yahushua. We can't fucking wait, man. I can't wait till I never have to see one of you dirty-ass Edomite motherfuckers again. And I can't wait, after that 1,000 years, all right, of your captivity. Matter of fact, I might make it to where I don't even know, man. I don't even know what I've been doing. If I have, in the kingdom, I don't know what. We're gonna have so many different type of crazy powers. I might not. I might just have to communicate with your ass telepathically because I don't even want to see your ass. All right, I'm gonna have to speak to you. I'm gonna know you're out there. I'm gonna not know where you're. I'm gonna know where you're at by echolocation because I don't even want to see your dirty ass, fucking dusty ass. All right, I don't want to see no red out the corner of my eye. I don't want to see that shit. And I especially don't want to see or hear and you're gonna be corrected in the kingdom. But I especially don't want to deal with no fucking 2/3 ass individual, especially the ones that like to stick up for the goddamn white man. All right. Well, brother, you shouldn't talk about the white man like that. Well, brother, you should fucking get Esau's dick out your goddamn mouth. That's what you should do. All right. Don't get on me. All right. Don't point fingers. All right. When you're over here, fucking, Captain Savamite. All right. Or they instead choose to not bring it to light in hope of avoiding a long, potentially embarrassing judicial process during which the superiority of their own culture and civilization might be brought into question. In any case, why were they so keen on shutting down the judicial process even before the final set of the witnesses had been interrogated? It's all through the scriptures, man. The law is slacked. All right, the law is slacked. Again, this is a people known as profane as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. Profane, ungodly, without God, godless, all right, wicked, all right, filled with iniquity, a sin-filled person. That's what that means. All right, no one is profane. Even Jake in their wickedness can't get to that same level. Now they're doing a pretty good job, all right. But even Jake in their wilderness, in their wickedness, the wilderness, calm down, all right. But Jake in their wickedness can't even compare to what Esau's got going on, man. Right. So what was I looking up again? The law slacked. And that's that's in the situation we're in. The earth is given in the hand of the wicked, all right. And with that, think about it. Think about it. If we're in the land of the wicked, and they are the wicked, okay, and they're ruling like the wicked, is justice going to go forth? All right. Are they going to say, you know what? We were wrong to eat those people. No, not at all. Habakkuk 1:4. It says, therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore, wrong judgment proceedeth. What does it mean the wicked compass about the righteous? They're in many more numbers than us. All right, there are many more of the wicked than of the righteous. They are in many in number, and we are in small in number. They got the wicked Edomites. All right, you got the wicked. I'll use their biblical nations. All right, or not the biblical nations. I was using their biblical nations. I'll make it easier for you. I'll just use both. You got the wicked Edomites, the so-called white man. You got the wicked Hamites, the so-called Africans. You got the wicked Ammonites, the so-called Japanese. You got the wicked Moabites, the so-called Chinese. You got the wicked Ishmaelites, the so-called Arab. You got the wicked. We got to get another finger. You got the wicked Elamites, the so-called East Asians. Right? You got Who else? Who else am I missing? You got the Amalekites, all right, the so-called 1948ers, the small hats, so-called Jewish individuals. You got Gog, the so-called Russian individuals. You got Gomer, the so-called German individuals. You have that's enough. You got all these individuals that they have more authority than us. Okay? They do not have the understanding of this truth. They do not believe in this truth. They do not worship or believe in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay? They do not keep the laws, the statutes, the commandments to the best of their ability. They don't care about the law. They're wicked. They don't care about the law. And if you don't care about the law, you're not going to care about the law going forth because you don't give a shit. Okay? For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. And again, going back to all these people, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Ishmaelites, the Amalekites, they're all wicked. The Edomites, most importantly, they're all wicked. All right? And they doth compass about us. There are more of them than us righteous jakes. There are many more of them than there are of us. So how is the law going to go forth if everybody else doesn't care about the law? If everybody else hates Yahweh Bashem Yahushai? If everybody else doesn't want the truth to go out? How is the law? You're right. We're all wicked, but we're going to do what's right, and, we're going to condemn ourselves, and we're going to, lock ourselves. No, man. No. Okay? What Esau does if they're put into a fucking corner where they have no chance to deny it anymore, I'm going to say a spoiler right now for Fallout, the second season, all right, for the last episode. So if you're watching it, don't listen. All I will say, I'll give a version for you, all right, is that when Esau gets cornered, they'll try to find themselves a way out, okay? They'll try to find themselves a way out, okay? Any mean necessary, okay? And again, this isn't a spoiler, but they'll try to, kill themselves. That's what Esau will do. If they can't do anything else, they'll kill themselves, okay? That's what they'll do. Now, I'm going to talk about some spoilers from Fallout. So if you haven't seen it, you don't want it spoiled, just mute the video, and then I'll go like this on the screen when I'm done talking about it, right? So, anyway, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. A perfect example of what happens with Edomites when they're backed into a corner and they're forced to reveal information or, that they don't want to do. They will do what Lucy's dad did, all right? Now, for you that don't care about spoilers and you happen to be here anyway, all right, Lucy's dad in Fallout universe, he's what's called an overseer. An overseer is essentially someone that worked for the vaults. The vaults are where people would go, all right, to be safe from the nukes. Although the corporation was a complete fucking sham, it was set up, and they were actually running experiments on individuals, and every single different vault was a different experiment, and it was all ran by these wicked individuals. It's quite ambiguous. They're not known as the Enclave. The Enclave are basically the Leech. You don't know if it's Vault Tech. Vault Tech is just basically a big capitalistic individual society that want to make money, and they'll do anything to do it. It doesn't really say who that is anyway, but you have these people that were trained before the war, generally, all right, and they go in these bunkers, and they usually go under cryostasis, a point where they get frozen, and then they get revived at some point in time, and then, they were frozen for 200 years, but now, they're alive, and they get to live out their life and, run this vault. Anyway, that's what happens. But anyway, this guy, Lucy's dad, all right, Lucy's one of the vault dwellers that was in there, not knowing what type of evil atrocities her father was actually doing. He had this little chip that he'd put in the back of people's head, and he would turn up this little button that would actually make people, able to be controlled. All right, and one of the things that they were able to be controlled, they could, reveal their thoughts, they could erase their thoughts or whatever. There was a button where you could erase your thoughts. Anyway, Lucy ended up, her father was evil, tried to kill her and do all this different type of shit and put the chip in her. So she ended up eventually getting some help from another individual, the Ghoul. All right, he showed up and did all this, and she ended up putting the chip in the back of his head to lead him out, to go and try to lead him to justice, to go and, basically go before a court, all right? Anyway, she didn't know he had one of those little dials that he can change it in his pocket. Anyway, he started revealing a lot of information about Vault-Tec and about what they were doing and the atrocities that they were doing and how those things have even expanded onto the surface, not just in the vaults. And when she started to ask more information, he got backed into a corner. He was helpless because now he has this thing where he can be controlled. He's got a chip in the back of his head and he can't do anything. You know what he did? He hit the button to erase his memory. And he sat there and she cried no more information from her father, erased his whole brain. All right, they would rather do that, or in a modern sense of, a reality, they would rather kill themselves, all right, than ever, say, yeah, I was wrong, we were wicked, this is what we're actually doing. They would actually rather, kill themselves, okay, because they don't want anything right to happen, okay. Again, so that's why Habakkuk 1 and 4. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth. For the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. Okay, the wrong things that happen end up happening because why? Because you have the wicked in authority. All right. Here's another one. I'll get this out of the way. It said, "Did white people eat mummies?" Okay, did they eat mummies? Yes, Europeans, white people, consumed pulverized Egyptian mummies as medicine throughout the 16th for roughly 600 years. They believe powdered mummified remains, often sold as mumia in apocryphal shops, could treat ailments such as epilepsy, internal bleeding, headaches, and stomach issues. So yes, it says the practice was part of broader corpse medicine trend on the ideas like cures like consuming a dead body spirit could heal the living. So yes. But they call us tribal. They call us savage. They call us, all these different fucking things. And that's where we're going to close out with this one, I believe. Right? Let me get one more scripture. We'll get more. But this is Isaiah 29 and 15. We have more about them being revealed. Really, that's this whole lesson is just about them being revealed over and over and over again. But let's get it. We're going to get this one, then we're going to close out. Maybe I'll get one more. We'll see. Isaiah 29:15. And it's going to read, it says, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord." Really, they try to do those things. They try to work in secret constantly. All right, but the Lord sees all these things. But again, they're not a godly man. Oh, it's like him. They're a carnal man. Same thing with Simeon Toko. That's why they tried to cut him up, because they're carnal. They thought, they could kill him with carnal weapons. They're carnal. It says, verse 15, again, Isaiah 29:15, "Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark. And they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us?" So who sees the things that we're doing? Who knows it? These people are so proud. Going back to the scripture, the pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rock. All right, again, revealing scripture about who they really are. They're so proud that they think that somehow the Lord's not seeing their actions as well. And again, I don't know how they think they are. That's just that, rampant amount of pride. And that's fine, right? That's fine. I mean, they're going to be sorely mistaken. It's going to be revealed that they're mistaken. Matter of fact, let's get this in the... Let's get this in another translation. Let's get this in the AMP. Let's get it in the AMP. It says, we'll get it in a couple. It says, "Woe, judgment is coming to those who try to deeply hide their plans from the Lord, whose deeds are done in a dark place, and say, who sees us? Or who knows us?" I want to get to verse 16 or 17, 18. Let me see. Let's see what we got here. No, 18's good. Now let's get this in the good news. Now let's get in the easy to read. And it's going to say in the easy to read, it's going to say, "Look at them. They try to hide things from the Lord. They think he will not understand. They do their evil things in darkness. They tell themselves, no one can see us. No one will know who we are." That's perfect, man. That's perfect. Perfect. Matter of fact, I don't even need to get any of the other versions. All right, just back to King James Version, because that was perfect. That was perfect. Who do these fucking people think they are, man? Job 20 and 27. All right. This is the Lord. All right. It says, "The heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him." So what does this go back to? That, look, the Lord's going to reveal all their secrets, all the things that they were hiding in the background. All those things are going to be revealed, man. All right. This is a Good News translation, or God's Word translation. "Heaven exposes his sin, earth rises up against him." All right, this is really through Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai reveals him. Yahweh Shai. And this is not just with the Edomites. This is with anybody that finds themselves on the opposite side of the Lord. You're going to be revealed. All right, you will be revealed. This is 27 in the Amp Bible. "The heavens will reveal his wickedness and guilt, and the earth will rise up against him. So again, these individuals, primarily talking about the Edomites in this scenario, they're going to be revealed. All right, they're going to be revealed. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at there. All right, I have 4 more scriptures. Some of those I want to get, but, we won't, we'll take a slice of cake now. We won't eat the whole cake, all right? So, but we will eat the whole roll, but we're going to save a little bit of the cake for later, all right? Again, because there's more I want to get, all right? I started this lesson at 11. It's already 12:30, so I know we've been going for like an hour and a half. So, again, with that attention deficit issue, we're going to go ahead and call it now, all right? Or individuals that never even watched the lesson. Anyway, we're going to close out there. Esau with his, dumbassness, all right? They're going to try to hide everything. They're going to try to, again, they're not going to investigate themselves. It's going to make them look bad, all right? They're going to do the same thing that they've always done with the police force. Someone does something bad, they're not going to investigate it. They're going to say, hey, look, these people are looking at you in a bad light right now. We're going to just transfer you a state over. Continue to be a cop. Look, we're going to give you a month off paid vacation. Take some time. I understand you're getting death threats on the internet. And we're just going to go ahead and, transfer you over. It was good working with you, buddy. It sucks, but we got a couple of these individuals that are pretty upset and, can't have you here. But, hey, you'll make friends along the way, right? So that's what they do. And they've done that even all the way back then. And they've done it, after that. And they do it now. And they'll continue to do it in the future until Yahushua comes back and destroys them. Which is very, very soon. So enjoy it. Hide the shit while you need to hide the shit, Esau. But, it's not going to be very much longer. You're going to get away with it. And, hey, cool. That's all we need. All right. But, yeah, that's it. That's where we're going to close out. So, Lord, what was edifying? Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom to you, brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. Slack if it was a little rambling, I'm a little tired here, but still want to make this lesson. Until next one, Lord willing, keep enduring, keep the faith. We're almost out of here. Shalom.